up and then down, and then up and then down. And like I said, that doesn't need to be there. The families here need to enjoy the course. I don't know what that is. Good morning. I am headed to the disc golf course in my neighborhood to meet up with my buddy Josh in order to help redesign the course. I played it on the 1st of January. I messaged the president of the HOA on the 1st of January. I met Devin, the president of the HOA, out there Sunday morning at 8 a.m. and showed him some of my plans. And by plans, I strictly just mean ways to make this course better without spending more money. So I think we could, obviously there wasn't many tees, move the tee sign somewhere. You could very easily leave the basket positions where they are and just kind of rearrange the tees and have a better course. It's not going to be a championship course, but it's not meant to be a championship course. The issue I have is it's obviously supposed to be family friendly. That's what the designer has reached out and actually told me, but like family friendly isn't 400-foot par threes through trees or through gaps. Hole 1, a family friendly person going the left route can't even get to the pin. So if the goal is a very family friendly course, and that's apparent, I wouldn't be out there complaining about that. But when you have a bunch of decently challenging, I mean, you watch my dad play, he's a pretty decent player and he's much better than the average family friendly contender, and he had a pretty tough time reaching the holes or even having an opportunity to reach the holes. And that's where I think the design got lost. We have a lot of quirky things, and then it's not like they're quirky and they're 150 feet. They're quirky, and you know, on hole 3, for example, you're throwing over circle 1 of hole 2's pin. So that's not safe, and especially if you have families out there and you have a kid wandering around and you have people who aren't that educated on disc golf thinking, oh, I can't throw it that far, you end up with a actual hazard for people getting hurt, and that's what you don't want, especially on the HOA's dime. So anyways, instead of complaining and being a little bee, I decided I was going to take some initiative and hit up the HOA, try to do something, try to make it better as much as I could. And if they don't approve it or they don't enjoy what we do, then oh well, we'll enjoy the course either way. We got my guy Josh. We're at hole 1. So when I'm designing or thinking about doing stuff like this, I want to think about 2 things. 1, how can I make the hole better? I'm not going to just change it because I want to say I changed it. I'm going to change it because it actually makes the hole play better, flow better, or be more safe. So we're going to be moving the tee over there. I already got approval from the HOA to do it. But like now we're going to be, him and I, this Josh, by the way, tell them about yourself.
Hey, I'm Josh. Started playing disc golf since I got out of the Army, 2017. About 7 years or so. Have had a lot of great experience through disc golf. Working with multiple people. I used to run the battalion team for Prodigy. Did DGPM for a while, and now this is just kind of my, hey, let's go resolve some stress and hang out and relax.
So he actually designed a course in a neighborhood not too far from here. So has the contractors, has the knowledge. The course is actually really good. So I wanted to get him involved because he's in the community and he knows what he's doing when it comes to dealing with the HOAs and kind of rearranging things and stuff like that. That's where I'm just an idiot with the camera and pretty good at Frisbee golf. So this course has hole 18 that runs like down the whole kind of back of the property. So Josh was actually saying like, how do you want to do this? And I was explaining to him and thought this would be good information for you guys. Like I'm going to forget about hole 18 right now. There's plenty of room on this property to add a different hole somewhere to not have to play hole 18 as what it is. And now as we kind of go, we're going to probably have to take 2 steps forward and 1 step back in order to kind of help this place and redesign the course. We're going to start with 1. I already know how to fix it, and that's easy. We're going to move hole 2's tee, try to find a cool, fun shot, and then we're just going to kind of go through the course and try to make little improvements that we think will make a big difference when you play them all in a row. And there might be a time where we take out an entire hole, we add a hole, we might end up with 20 holes and allowing people to play, if they're playing league or playing tags or whatever, hey, we're going to play this layout because there's no reason to not add if we can and have it still be safe and flow well. Because right now, hole 3's tee, like I mentioned in the intro, you're literally throwing over like 2's circle if you want to park the hole. and it's a 430-foot par 3, so that's not really good for very many people, and it's unsafe. So we're going to try to remedy some of these issues. Let's jump right into it. All right, we've come to the conclusion. We moved one, like I mentioned. Hole 2 is just that hole where I threw the super shooter. We're going to take that hole out for now. There's enough room on this property, I think. You have to walk from 1's basket all the way to 3, obviously, anyways. So taking out this hole for now, I think will allow us some room in this middle area to make it feel less congested. And literally hole 2 was like a 100-foot shot that really has no value. So we're gonna take that out for now. I know a place on the property where we can add a hole back in, obviously to have 18 holes. So we're gonna go to what would be hole 3, hopefully now our hole 2 if we're able to kind of smash out this design. But like I mentioned, here is like the basket for what is 2 and 4, but it's like there's the basket for 3 here. So like you're having to throw from there kind of over this to this pin here, and it's just not conducive. So I want to move this basket further into the field to make hole 4, which would now be hole 3, a reachable par 3 for a normal person. We just watched 2 guys play, and they literally threw it 150 feet short, threw an upshot. The same thing my dad did. I mean, you throw it pretty far because you're big and strong, but within reason, I mean, the hole is hard. And it doesn't need to be that hard. Hole 2 isn't a great hole. So it's not like we're losing something by moving that basket. What we're doing is allowing the hole to be more playable, and we're not taking up any more room. Again, we're kind of spreading out the course, spreading out the things, because now you don't have old 3's basket in the middle. You know, you don't have a congestion. You can kind of move it out in the middle of the field and end up with a pretty good layout, versus like trying to make 2 holes out of 1, but one's 100 feet and one's 430 feet. Because at the end of the day, this is a neighborhood course, and like we're trying to create something for people to play. And if I had never played disc golf before and this was the course, like why is this hole 100 feet and that one's 400?
Well, it's better to have balanced challenges. So you figure if you picture a disc golf course kind of like a diagram, yeah, right? You don't want to have huge mountain spikes of like, oh, this hole's hard as hell, when we could take those 2 holes, balance the challenge out, and now you're challenged during your whole round.
Yeah. No, I think this course has, like what you're saying, they have a lot of like up and then down, or then up and then down. I want to try to get, even if every hole is 295 feet, I'd rather that be 295 feet on every hole and have varying challenges and trees and bushes than having like one hole 430 feet and the next hole 100 feet.
Right.
So I think we just need to get the flow here. This is a HOA. They're not going to mess up their landscape in order to like make our disc golf hole. So we have to remember that like at the end of the day, we're still working with the neighborhood and with the park in order to make a good place. So I want to disrupt as minimal as possible, because the HOA is not going to spend any more money on this. They've already overspent, and they spent $16,000 on this, and this is what they got. This right here is old 3's green, and there's the basket for old 4. I'm just going to call the holes as they are so we're not being confused. And it's 416 feet, and obviously you kind of have to push these trees here, but that's the green of the previous hole. T points this way, the hole goes that way. What we're going to do is we're going to try to make this a hole where you just kind of play out into the field here. Again, we want the flow chart of the course to be solid, and I want the average player, Josh, somebody who's not a avid tournament player, an avid person that like dedicates their life to disc golf, to be able to get to the pin. And I don't want it to be too easy, but I don't want it to be unreachable. I mean, this pin, I think we could take most of the people in the state of Arizona and tell them to birdie this hole, and they probably couldn't. I want to change as minimal things as possible. So this tee pad is pretty well installed. It's flat, it's grippy, it's nice, it's in the shade. I want to aim the hole just kind of out into the middle of this field, because it's already in the middle of the field, and make it a hole that's fun and obtainable and reachable for everybody. Let's see what Josh can do here. So we'll put it 30 feet past that. So the shot that Josh just threw is 356 feet. It's right there, but I want to move the basket even a little more away from the other green, just to give us some type of variation. And about at 330-ish feet, I mean, a beginner level person isn't going to be daunted by this hole. So, I mean, as you can see, I mean, the basket is like, we're a whole upshot away from the other pin. And then this also is still in the middle of the course enough to where we're not even blocking hole 18. Because initially I was going to maybe take current 18 out in order to make a better hole 2. But Josh and I were talking, and we decided it might just be best for now of this design to kind of just take hole 2 out because we don't need it. There's room on the back of the course to add more holes. But if we put this basket here, it's now out of the way of the previous hole. No one's getting, if you're on that green and you're putting, you don't have to worry about someone really throwing at you. We were thinking about actually building some type of rise or some type of little green thing that we could make this like kind of looks nice with, and it's perfectly like in the middle of this grass area. So if someone was driving by and they didn't know about disc golf, might actually attract them to try disc golf. And that's the point of this thing is, hey, what the heck is that? How do I play? Where do I find it? Now that we've changed the first few holes, I actually think this hole has some value. So before it was kind of just in a weird spot in the course in terms of you play a weird par 3, a really short par 3, a good hole, a hole that was way too long, and then you came here and this hole like felt too short. Now that we have balance, this pin is kind of surrounded by, as you can see, like the outline of the landscaping, and it is 220 feet. So you give yourself a really good like ace run opportunity, a must get birdie, but a not guaranteed birdie. Right. And you have an ace, you can throw out of bounds, you can bogey. There's trees back there. Again, this is Arizona, so we kind of need to be somewhat careful about trying to keep people in the shade. So the last tee pad has shade, this pin has shade, the next tee will have shade. So that's something else I'm trying to think about in this design. Isn't just like, what's a good hole? And I was just telling Josh, actually, I'm guilty of like, oh, this will be like, there's this tree back here. And I was like, dude, imagine if we threw, and he's like, yeah, I'd like this hole. But I'm like, the average person, even if you're an avid disc golfer, it'll be 360 feet under a tree. Like, just simply, this isn't the place for that hole. It's a cool hole, and you and I would enjoy it, but it's simply not like what we need for this course. Hole 5, or old hole 5, is a pretty good hole and now fits in the course. So let's move on. All right, so here's the basket, and this is what I'm talking about. There's a nice little OB line here, and at 220 feet, this is not too close. I mean, it's 15 feet away, but with the way there's some trees, again, some nice shade. Looking back, there will be the tee about right there. But overall, you guys, like I said, I'm not trying to diss or dog on the guy that designed this. Course design is not easy, and I've had the ability and the good opportunity to play some of the best courses in the world for 12 years. So me thinking, even though I'm not a course designer, that I can help or make this better, I'm not trying to be rude to anybody or diminish anybody's efforts. This is in my community. Again, that UDisc review of someone saying like, oh, I like you, Drew, but your course isn't very good. I want to make the course better. I want to be a good steward in the community. And now that I'm not on tour full time anymore, I have the ability to come out here and do this kind of stuff, because otherwise I'd probably should be practicing my putting, because we know I suck at that.
The course that we designed, it's a little north of here. It's called Rob Simmons. It's a memorial course now, because the original guy that approved the course, he passed away. That is now in its 3rd iteration, okay? Nobody comes out and designs a course and goes, you know what, this is the permanent course now, nothing's changing, nothing's evolving, nothing. In Arizona, we have all of this land out here. And that's why everybody jokes Arizona's just Heiser golf. And yeah, as you look at it, it is definitely Heiser golf. Like, yeah. This is just straight Heiser golf, maybe except for this hole. But, you know, taking advantage of these wide open spaces, all of these little undulations that are on the sides or going around corners, that's part of the evolution that you want to look for when you're designing a course.
Well, and like he said, I'll be happy to work with Sean, who initially designed this course, and get his opinions on our new iterations of this course. I mean, I'm not saying that this is going to be great because Josh and I are doing it. I'm saying it's going to be great because we're paying attention to detail, and I have a goal in mind of how the course should flow, why it should flow that way, safety, and then actually having a good ebb and flow of holes. Current hole 6, 166 feet. The basket is obviously currently right there. I just want to move it into this opening and 40 feet further back. Make it a 200-foot hole to where someone could go sidearm around this tree, dead straight through, hyzer skip through these trees, or you could even go kind of big ploppy hyzer over the top. Josh is going to throw it for us, but I think that the shot that we need is, again, it's a straight shot through the trees. You don't get that in Arizona or on this course much. So to just kind of plunk it in this, using this group of trees is great, but not making you play through the group of trees. Because, I mean, you could land it before this tree here and literally just bounce it to the basket. So you don't even have to take the trees into play. Move the basket 40, 50 feet further back. Now the hole's 210, 220, and you actually have to play through the trees, which, in my opinion, I came from Northern California disc golf. Playing through the trees is disc golf.
Yep, I'll go right at the tree.
But
so, it's a good hole.
But here's my point. like that shot, he's a pretty decent disc golfer. Like now throw a shot to just the short pin, like where it is now. Like my point is like you're gonna get somebody who's a pretty good player to make a mistake like that. So where the pin is now,
I just parked it by making that.
There's no mistake to be made really. Yeah, so I mean literally that was a zone OS sidearm chunker and like park job. So like my point is like it doesn't have to make the hole harder, it has to make you do better. I mean, he threw the first one horribly and the second one like decent, but like it's the same result because the trees are like almost helping you play the hole. I want you to, if you hit those trees like he did, you have a 50-footer with OB behind it. Yep. And that is course design, right? You're making someone make a decision. You're making somebody have to execute, because even the hole's only 220 feet. If you don't make it through these trees, you're not going to get a birdie. I mean, I'm going to stand probably back where we put the basket and looking backwards at this hole. Look at this. You have the tee there. The basket was now there. It's kind of, again, you just throw it into this tree and drop in. You have a 8-footer. So now we're actually making somebody play the hole. So initially, I liked this hole. He raised a pretty good point that you're throwing kind of head on into traffic here. And the hole is 330 feet. And it's like a very demanding throw. I like it. I mean, obviously, I used to be good. But overall, it's not the greatest hole for a beginner course. I like the hole. Don't get me wrong. This is a good hole. It'll be a really great hole on tour because there's OB 15 feet to the right. I think what we were just talking about doing is taking the hole and moving it over here to the left, which would probably make it a 300-foot hyzer, a lot easier of a shot than someone trying to throw a flex shot. And he said if someone does a WTF Richard, they're going to just hit head on into someone's car. And he said the HOA would actually be liable for that because it's coming from their property. So if we put it down here, there's this pink bush right about here. And again, it would just make the hole a nice little hyzer. But again, it would make the hole coming backwards. I was reminding Josh, he's like, let's do this. And I'm like, well, you got to remember, there's a hole at the end of this little passageway here coming backwards. Josh had a good idea of putting this in the shadow there. And then the hole coming back now actually would be a turnover or a sidearm with out of bounds to the right. Yep. So you would have a pretty basic hyzer shot here, but I think if we put it in the right position, it'll be just long enough to be a challenge and just close enough to be gettable for the average person that will be playing this course. It would bring the OB into play, but more than anything else, it would make that next hole really good compared to what it is now. So we move the basket one time, leave the two tee pads the same, and you get two pretty good holes for the price of one. By this pink little bush in this shadow area. Now, and the other tee is actually back in this corner. So now you're gonna have two decently challenging holes for the area. This isn't Pro Tour hole, but for the area we have and the green belt we have and the playing we have to do, it's actually a pretty damn good remedy. All right, so we got the rangefinder out, and now that the rangefinder is telling us that the hole going this way is 290, and this hole is what, 230? 220. So again, now instead of having a 330-foot hole and then a literal gimme, you have two holes that have some substance to them.
When you play a course and you're learning how to actually control your discs, who cares if you're not blasting at 400 feet?
I mean, most of you guys watching this probably understand 400 feet is a very, very far distance for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So to make holes 400 feet or needing 400 foot of distance makes it very difficult. All right, so we just actually talked to some locals. If you guys are watching this, it's nice meeting you. We got some feedback that's pretty valuable. The hole 2 that I was obviously not a very big fan of, they said they really liked the hole. So what we have done, I kind of figured out a mastermind plan in this area to put a tee up here on this little plateau hill that's not being used, and then turning this, it's already a 430-foot par 3, moving the flag up in here, making an island green. They liked the island green, which I didn't think was a thing, but those locals, they said their buddies, whatever, they liked the island green. So I told them, hey, I'll make you a new one. But now you have to walk from that basket, like way down there, literally like a 4-minute walk to the other side of this road to play the hole. So now instead you're gonna come up here, you're gonna play a 220-foot island hole par 3. And mind you, this island is gonna be like 50 feet. So I mean, it's gonna be a pretty vast thing to hit. And then now, instead of having a 430-foot par 3, we're gonna move this back another 50, 60 feet. You're gonna get a 500-foot par 4, which, keep in mind, this is made for normal people. 500-foot par 4 obviously isn't like the greatest plan in the world, but it's better than having a 430-foot par 3, in my opinion. So we could literally take that tee sign, kerplunk it right here, and we've solved a flow issue, a long walk issue, a safety issue. So we fixed 3 issues with kind of just creating 1 new hole. And we added a par 4 on the course, which you get to throw hard. And like I said, hopefully goes from a hole where nearly nobody, I mean, I threw Emperor hard and low and flat and was pin high and birdied it, but I'm one of the furthest throwers in existence. Making a hole and rewarding people for throwing 2 good shots is a better plan than punishing them for simply not throwing far enough. Here we are, hole 11. The tee was there, kind of to this pin here. We're just going to move it back 15 or 20 feet. What it's going to do is it's going to frame up the hole really nicely. It's going to make it a little bit more challenging. It's going to bring these trees on the left into play from this other tee that they have. Again, and I'm doing this because we're doing permanent tee pads, hopefully soon. And it looks really nice as long as the HOA, which they do, keeps this pretty trimmed up. It's going to continue to be a really good hole. We're not doing anything to the hole. Sean's initial idea of what this hole should be. We are literally just making it frame up a little better, look a little better, and add a little dynamic of if you throw it low and left, you're going to hit these bushes and kind of stay out of bounds. And then if you still have this nice hyzer gap here to be able to kind of push a hyzer flip through the trees and be able to throw a pretty similar shot. So if you're able to birdie the pin when it was, or the hole when it was over there, this isn't going to stop you, right? I mean, adding 15 or 20 feet is not going to really be the difference of a birdie or a bogey. There is a fence wall and then trees. So you're going to have to kind of push a hyzer flip shot, which adds some variety. Let's see how good you are. So there you go. Yeah, don't know if safe out, but I like the idea here. It makes you have to think a little bit more. And as I mentioned, changing holes like this and just framing them up better, making them a little more appealing. But we're not adding much difficulty. We're not adding anything. Tee pad, someone's house, someone's driveway. We are trying to find a way to kind of remedy that. This neighbor seems to be pretty cool from what the president of the HOA is saying about the situation here. I just don't want it to become an issue. If this park becomes popular, there's hundreds of people on the weekend playing here. I don't think anybody wants someone pretty much in their living room playing disc golf. Josh got my disc back that was in that tree that I was like throwing it at and lost it, and now I got it back. We tried to find a solution to the hole. Josh threw like 4 or 5 shots. I kind of walked around and scouted it. Honestly, it's a really cool hole minus the fact that we're in their driveway. So we're gonna leave it. If you throw it like 400 feet, because the hole's only like 450, you end up with just this like awkward jump putt. I wouldn't call it a par 4 and I wouldn't call it a par 3. Hopefully one day the HOA or the new person that buys that house or whatever doesn't have a problem. But as of now, I think we just leave that hole alone. Here's the hole. Here's me. Here's Josh. This is the hole. Mando here. I went over the road and the houses. If you have a decent amount of power and you want to go low and you flip it too much, you're bringing in the sidewalk, the road, kids on the sidewalk, people on the sidewalk, cars into play. So what I think we want to do is try to find a way to play from this tee, because it's a cool teeing area, and play down this path here and just make it a par 4. It's where no one is really trying to get way down there. There's no advantage to someone like me of throwing over the top, because again, I want to mitigate opportunities where people can get hit or hurt. And if we just throw it further down there, the locals we talked to said they're already throwing like putter and then just throwing putter again. So why don't we make it mid-range, and then you have a cool par 4. All right, we found the solution we think for this hole. This tee that it's right here somewhere is like in the way. The group behind us literally just threw like almost onto the tee pad. So I would like to be able to go further up where Josh is here. So there's Josh. That's where the old tee was. Just this 30-40 foot difference is going to be the difference in someone being able to throw into you on the previous hole. And then we're going to play all the way down to the back of this kind of green belt here, where you're going to be able to see the pin from the tee, and you're going to be able to play all the way down as a par 4, and it's going to be a par 4 that even I probably couldn't reach unless I threw an absolutely perfect shot due to the shape. So it's going to be a true par 4 for everybody, and granted, it's only going to be probably about 500 feet, but it's going to be 500 foot of challenging, gotta earn it disc golf. Yeah, so what he's saying is there's sidewalk up there. You can walk back to this tee that's here. So you're not actually interfering with other people who are playing the course or trying to play down here, then walk back down the middle of the fairway to get to the next tee. They're gonna be able to just hop up on the sidewalk and kind of jet their way to the pin or to the next tee that is here. All right, so we have Josh here. He threw about a 250-foot upshot. Here's the normal pin, and then kind of down here, right past this little shadow here, we're gonna put the new pin. Then we're gonna show you guys kind of how you would exit out of here to kind of make it safe and where you're not walking, because obviously this is now the fairway of the same hole we're on, and the tee is back there to the left. So we're gonna show you kind of what we were talking about and thinking when it comes to safety and design, because you're allowed to kind of go backwards if you have a safe way to get back and you're not walking right down the hole. And then here's our sidewalk, and now we just jaunt right on down here, and we end up with a hole that is gonna actually be pretty safe. These people are actually throwing the hole while we were walking, so that proves that our theory is true, that people realize, okay, hey, we're safe to go. And it doesn't affect the flow of play in order to get back kind of going this way back towards the parking lot area of the course, or the stretch where you play back to the parking lot. And it's going to be challenging for me as well, because I'm going to have to tone down, throw a mid-range or putter in order to keep it in bounds on there, because this thing is pretty dang thin. Really cool hole here. So right through the gap, basket right over this bush here. One of the great holes on the course, in my opinion. Use the nature's fairway, as I would like to call it. And now that we've kind of made this a par 4 and got the walking path up on the top, we're going to be having no backups during league.
No backups.
So this is one of the things that he said there was an issue with as you play league, and then just naturally people who are playing that short pin don't think to kind of get up on that path because it's not too far back there. You just kind of walk back to your bag that you leave kind of in the fairway. So we're going to be putting on the tee sign and promoting people, hey, jump up on the sidewalk, get to here, and this is one hole that I would never change. I think this is a really great hole. Sean did a great job with this one, and so we're going to get on to the next par 4. If you have made it this far in the video, as always, I greatly appreciate your time, and I greatly appreciate you checking in with us. And as always, thank you guys so much. We're going to show you guys a few more holes, but we've kind of walked you through all this side at this point because we explained the redesign of those holes over there. So we could probably just kind of start trekking on back. 511, hole 15, tee here, basket between those two trees. It's a good hole. I mean, we're not going to change anything. There is nothing to change. There's OB on the right. There's a tree here on the left. That was one of my main things that Josh and I were talking about at the beginning of the video, is we're not here to like change everything, right? We just want to make what's here and can be better. And this is a great hole. The last hole is a great hole. So we're not going to mess with them. I'm going to take you guys through the next par 3. And then on the way out, we're going to explain that island hole par 3 that we kind of made. And then we'll have 17 and 18 and we'll be out of here. So one thing about doing a course like this is when you have baskets with multiple use, you can't just move them around because you're affecting a different hole for better or for worse sometimes. Right. So we made some changes earlier in the course where we were, kind of messing with the hole and making one hole better and one hole extra better by moving the basket. And this hole, we were standing here going, man, we wish there was a way to, make this hole a little different. It's like a 315-foot par 3. Heiser-Zona hole. But like at the end of the day, if we move this basket to make this hole 16 better, we're going to be messing up with like hole 13 or 14. So it's a give and take. You can't do too much. So again, this is the third hole in a row now we're just leaving alone. For what it is and us needing to get way back that way to get to the car, it's a pretty cool hole. It's challenging enough at 317 feet downhill. Kind of the wind rolls through here a little funny. Sometimes it's better to just leave stuff alone.
Leave it be.
Don't
reinvent it.
If it's not broke, don't fix it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the basket, and then you're going all the way to the other side here. So we've actually put flags that these guys have found and are going to probably play to this basket, which was our goal. So mitigating a walk, adding a hole, and then again, this is that island hole I was talking about earlier in the video where, the local community seems to like it. So why would we take it away? Down the final stretch here of the course, then we're going to go grab some freaking tacos, bro.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, tacos. Taco Tuesday! So again, this hole used to play 170 feet just over here to the left. Making somebody throw a standstill sidearm or some type of turnover on this approach shot is really valuable. Not only does it make it more difficult, it shows that your skills are getting sharper because it's not easy to throw this type of shot. Taking the basket from there, moving it there, really making a difference in the quality of the holes. And even not the quality, right? I'm not saying it's a better hole. It just is gonna play better with the 2 holes that share this pin. It's gonna be a lot more controllable. And he was not 40 feet short. He was parked. So I take it back. I'm a bully.
Actually, I'm pretty sure I aced it.
Dude, you had to spit out an imaginary basket.
Can you imagine that?
Today sucks.
Man, that sucks. I need
Captain's Raptor,
tacos.
that's what we need. I mean, and again, that's just a better hole and a better shot than just throwing a hyzer dump right there to that basket. Tiny tweaks to make a big difference, and I think that honestly we've accomplished that pretty well today. If you're in the area and you're watching this, maybe next weekend, maybe the weekend after, take a look on like Superstition Disc Golf or talk to your friends. We're gonna be doing a we want your opinion type round where we're gonna bring out baskets, we're gonna lay out the tees, and we're gonna kind of play both layouts, the current one then the one that we're doing today, and take people's votes, take what people think. If they like normal hole 3 or whatever better, then we're gonna listen to their feedback. Make sure to check out this course first, and like I said, once again, it is not horrible. The property just could have been used better or more efficiently. We are done. We're gonna skip hole 18 here because I'm not sure what we're really gonna do with the hole, and as it sits right now, it's just a very, very long par 4. So unless we change it to like a shorter par 3 or something, that's just gonna be the hole. And if you wanna see that hole, go to the other video and check out hole 18. I really like the green. The basket position is really freaking cool. So I don't wanna change anything with that. And I think that with the way we've kind of rearranged some holes in the course, where there's gonna be no problem with having people just play 18 kind of down this left side, because we're thinking about putting hole 2's tee. You might be able to see the orange flags way down there, but we were gonna put 2's tee over there, which obviously would be in the middle of 18's fairway. We have since decided to just take hole 2 out. So kind of solves our problem, and we still get a really sick finishing hole par 4 here.
That island hole replaced that hole. So
yeah,
it looks like.
So we added the island hole a few holes ago. We took out this island hole that to me was kind of valueless. But again, the community liked the thought of the island hole. Now hopefully put it in a place for a better course where people don't have to walk as far. They get to play a hole, and a hole that supposedly everyone enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you to Josh for coming out here and volunteering your time. I filmed this whole entire thing on an Action 5 Pro. So hopefully the audio is pretty good. I don't really know. But either way, thank you guys for coming on the course design with us. We'll see you in the next one.